Creole is a language that is formed when two different groups of people with two different languages that cannot communicate with each other come into contact and form a new language that's something in the middle using elements from both. But why do children end up forming Creoles instead of just learning one or both of the languages in contact? In a lot of cases, people do just learn one or both of the languages in contact. For example, I'm in Brazil right now, and almost everybody speaks only Portuguese, including indigenous people who still live pretty much entirely within their traditional indigenous culture. But nonetheless, these Creoles do end up forming. So why does that happen? Well, this is still very much a topic with a lot of debate, so I'm going to do my best to ponder, and admittedly, this is a bit of my opinions or thoughts and not so much my exact knowledge. I'm not the foremost expert on Creoles or anything. So if we think back to the creolization process, it's with basically two groups of people that don't have a translator, so that's why they form a pidgin. Just a few basic words, like 100, 200 words, extremely basic grammar, just to mostly conduct trade. Now, our current best understanding of Creoles is that one language, usually the colonizer's language, becomes Lexfire because they introduce the words to these people. When the colonizer has strong authority, they basically force people to actually just learn their language. That's why so many places like in Latin America, even with large indigenous populations, only speak the European language. But in some cases, you still have adults and even older people that don't learn the colonizer's language or whatever the Lexfire is, and they still need people to talk to them, and they still teach their children how to speak. But because using the language of authority's words is so important to their life now, they kind of have to use that, but because they just have a few basic words for the purposes of trade and business and whatnot, they have to fill in all that grammar with something. And so what do they use? Well, they use the grammar they grew up with, or the grammar that their parents taught them. Like I said, it's still hotly debated. The whole lexifier situation has been questioned by some people, but that's how I was taught about it by linguists who know a lot more than me, so that's how I kind of understand it and explain it. Basically, you have a few words that are really important from the Lexfire language, but people still need to communicate with the indigenous language. So that kind of forces them to use both, but for different purposes. So they use different portions of each language and then create a Creole. Let me know if you're satisfied with that answer. I feel like it was kind of confusing, but it's a complicated topic, so I hope I did a good enough job answering it.